Warm greetings to those who are truly searching, not just listening, but listening with their spirit. There comes a point in every journey when knowledge alone is no longer enough. When another quote, another book, or another lecture stops filling the void, you begin to realize that the answers you're looking for are not out there. They are quietly echoing within you, waiting for your silence, waiting for you to stop speaking, stop proving, and start becoming. But here is a secret, one you may have glimpsed without knowing its depth. Once you discover something powerful about yourself, once you touch a truth that changes the way you see the world, you will feel an overwhelming urge to share it, to talk about it, to shout it from the rooftops. That's natural. That's the mind trying to validate its breakthrough. But the ancient wisdom whispers otherwise. Keep your mouth shut. Not because the truth is shameful, not because it must be hidden, but because some things, when spoken too soon, lose their potency. Some truths are like seeds. You don't yank them out of the soil the moment they begin to sprout just to show others. You let them take root. You protect them from the wind. You give them time to become strong. What no one tells you is that speaking too early is a form of ego. We talk because we want to be seen. We want to be praised for what we've uncovered. But wisdom does not thrive in the soil of validation. It thrives in stillness, in testing, in living through your truth, not just talking about it. There is a pain in awakening because you will see what others do not. You will walk differently. Your eyes will stop chasing the things they once found beautiful. Your ears will grow tired of noise. You will outgrow environments you once begged to be a part of. And in that shift, there will be loneliness. The kind of loneliness that begs for expression, that tempts you to explain yourself, to prove to others that you've changed, that you now see clearer. But silence is your true teacher. Because in silence, you are no longer convincing anyone. You are simply living the truth you found. The strength of your transformation doesn't lie in how many people you tell. It lies in how deeply you embody it. Keep your mouth shut, not because others are unworthy, but because the sacred must be protected. There will come a day when you look around and realize how easily words are wasted, how often we give away our power by explaining what we should be mastering. You will realize that not everyone deserves access to your inner world, not because they are bad, but because they are not ready. Some people are still walking paths you've already left behind. And if you try to give them the map to your mountain, they will only mock your climb. Haven't earned the altitude yet. And it's not your job to lift them with your words. You are not here to convince, you are here to evolve. And evolution is often silent, happens in the quiet moments, when you choose discipline over desire, when you walk away from chaos instead of engaging it, when you sit with your pain instead of running from it. These are the moments that make you unshakable. Not the moments when you talk, but the moments when you act. So the next time you feel something click inside you, when you feel that breakthrough rising, that insight pressing against your lips, pause. Ask yourself, this for the world to hear, or is this for me to live first? Most times, it's the latter. You owe yourself the gift of integration. Let the secret change you before you let it change others. Because when it's real, when it's truly part of your being, you won't need to explain it. Your presence will do that for you. Your energy, your actions, your silence, they will speak louder than any words ever could. How you become powerful, that is how you become untouchable. You stop leaking your growth. You stop narrating your transformation like a story still being written. And instead, you live as if it is already complete. The secret. And once you know it, keep your mouth shut. There is a quiet law in this world that few speak about because it cannot be easily explained. It must be lived. That law is this: when you speak wisdom too early, not because wisdom is fragile, but because your connection to it still is. When you first touch truth, it feels electric. It moves through your mind like lightning. Suddenly everything makes sense. The chaos, the pain, confusion, all of it becomes part of a greater picture. And in that moment, the urge to share it becomes overwhelming. But here's the lesson that few are taught. Not all things should be spoken right away. Truth is like fire. Your hands are not strong enough to carry it. You burn yourself and others. The first realization is never the full transformation. It's the beginning of a deeper practice. Speaking prematurely about your insight is like pouring a sacred tea into a cracked cup. It leaks. It's lost. You see, your words carry energy, but they also carry responsibility. When you speak of things you haven't fully lived, like drawing a map of a place you've only visited once, the lines will be wrong, the scale will be off, and those who follow that map will get lost. The discipline of silence after realization is not a punishment. Protection. Protection for you to give your mind and body time to align with what your spirit now knows. Protection for the wisdom itself, so it can root itself deeper into your behavior, your habits, your character. Because until your daily actions reflect your breakthrough, it is not yet real. It is a thought. And thoughts are delicate. They are shaped not only by our inner awareness, but by how the world responds when we speak them. When you share a powerful insight with someone who is not ready, you are not giving. It may feel like that, but you are actually placing your inner growth at risk. You are handing over something sacred to someone who cannot understand its weight. They will doubt it, laugh at it, dismiss it, and if you are not yet strong, their rejection can cause you to question yourself, can unravel what was once a moment of pure clarity. In this way, the ego disguises itself as generosity. I must share this truth, it says, but the wise do not rush to teach. They let their lives become the lesson first. True mastery does not announce itself. The tree does not scream when it bears fruit. It simply grows slowly, silently, and powerfully. Those who are meant to benefit from its shade will find it. In the same way, your growth will become visible in time through how you carry yourself, how you respond under pressure, how you treat others without needing to be praised. And this presence will say more than any explanation ever could. Important to understand that some people feed off your insecurity to validate their own comfort. If you speak your new realization in front of those who are committed to staying the same, they will try to pull you back, not out of malice, but out of fear. Your growth reminds them of their stagnation. Your clarity exposes their confusion, so they challenge you. Not because you are wrong, but because they don't want you to be right. And if your root is not deep enough, you will wobble. That is why silence must come first. Not forever, just long enough for your truth to harden into strength. Speak only once your words no longer need agreement. Share only when your truth cannot be shaken by rejection. That's when you are no longer trying to convince. You are simply revealing what already is. There's another layer. When you withhold speaking your insights, you allow them to work on you. They begin shaping your behavior in small ways. How you wake up, how you listen, how you walk away from what no longer serves you. These are the signs of transformation. They don't make noise, they don't seek attention, but they are undeniable. Those around you will feel it, even if they can't name it. They will sense a shift, a gravity, a presence. That is the energy of a person who has discovered something powerful and held it long enough to become it. So the next time you realize something profound, resist the urge to explain. Let your stillness hold it. Let your silence nurture it. Let your actions reflect it. And in time, when the seed has grown into a tree, you will find that you don't need to speak at all. People will come to you, not for your words, but for your way of being. And when you do speak, they will listen, not because you are loud, but because your silence made them curious. That is true power. That is what it means to know. And to know when to say nothing. There is a painful but necessary truth in life that very few are prepared to accept. Not everyone is ready for what you've discovered. Not everyone has eyes to see what you now see. And not everyone has the heart to carry what your soul has been shown. When wisdom reveals itself to you, it feels like a gift. But the mistake we often make is assuming it will be received as a gift by others. It won't, especially not if they haven't asked for it. especially not if they're still living in the mindset that the wisdom was meant to help you escape from. The very nature of truth is that it's disruptive. It challenges illusions, shines light into corners that many would prefer to leave in the dark. It invites change, but change is uncomfortable. So when you bring truth to those who are not ready, it will not be welcomed. It will be resisted, rejected, sometimes even attacked. Imagine walking into a room where everyone has been asleep for years. Their eyes have adjusted to the darkness. Their comfort depends on the silence. Then you, wide-eyed and awakened, suddenly burst in with a flashlight. You think you're doing them a favor. You believe you're sharing your newfound clarity, but to them, you are a threat. Not because your light is wrong, because it disturbs the world they've built around their unawareness. In life, timing is everything. The truth delivered at the wrong time is no better than a lie. This is why wisdom demands patience. When you understand something deep, something transformative, your job is not to run out and convert others. Your job is to internalize that truth, to live it. Let your life become evidence of what you've learned. Because if someone isn't seeking truth on their own, your words will sound like noise, or worse, judgment. This is especially difficult when the people you love are the ones still asleep. You want them to wake up. You want them to grow. You want them to see what you now see. But transformation cannot be forced. It must be chosen. It must be walked through, not handed over. A butterfly cannot help a caterpillar become what it is. It can only fly by example. Sharing deep insights with the wrong people is like planting seeds in concrete. No matter how powerful the seed is, it cannot grow where there is no soil. And if you insist on forcing it, you exhaust yourself and end up feeling unseen, unheard, or even betrayed. The pain you feel is not because the truth wasn't real. It's because you misjudged the readiness of the person standing in front of you. There is also the subtle arrogance of believing it is your job to awaken others. It isn't. Awakening is personal. No matter how well you speak, no matter how true your insight, it cannot land where there is no openness. You may want to shake people and tell them how much better life could be. But until they are ready to listen, not just with their ears but with their spirit, your words will fall flat. Or worse, they will twist them, mock them, turn them against you. This is why silence becomes wisdom's ally. When you remain silent, you are not abandoning the truth. You are honoring it. You are saying, this is sacred. This is not entertainment. It's not a casual conversation. This is a key that unlocks doors, and I will not hand it to someone who still prefers to remain locked inside. Let your example be the invitation. Let the way you live create curiosity. Let your peace disturb their chaos, not by preaching, but by being. People don't follow words, they follow energy. If you truly understand something powerful, it will change your posture, your choices, your priorities. Others will notice. They may not say anything at first, but when the time is right, when they are finally ready, they will ask. And when someone asks from a place of openness, then and only then is the door ready to be unlocked. Is how transformation spreads, not through force, but through resonance. You live your truth so fully, so silently, that it radiates. It becomes magnetic. Those who are meant to rise will feel the pull, and they will come, not to argue, not to debate, but to learn. Until then, keep your treasure protected. Hold it in the quiet corners of your heart. Let it grow in you before you ever speak of it. The world may not be ready, you must be. Because if you try to convince others before your own foundation is strong, you risk being pulled back into the very mindset you've escaped. And that is the silent danger of sharing too soon. Your truth may be real. If it's still fragile, the wrong environment can crush it, so hold it close. Let your silence build your strength. And remember, when they're ready, they will hear you. Until then, walk your truth in peace. A profound difference between strength and power. Strength is the ability to do something. Power is knowing when not to. This is where many people misunderstand mastery. They believe power is demonstrated through loudness, dominance, or control. But true power, the kind that shapes lives and alters futures, is quiet. It is composed. It doesn't seek attention. It doesn't announce itself when it enters a room. It doesn't need to, because it already knows what it is. When you come across someone who has walked through pain, faced their own fears, battled their weaknesses, and emerged wiser, you'll notice something subtle but unmistakable about them. They don't rush to prove anything. They listen more than they speak. Their presence carries weight, but not because they demand it, because they've earned it. That's restraint. And restraint is the mark of someone who has power but has chosen to master it. We live in a world where everyone wants to be seen, heard, and praised. Social media, conversations, even relationships have become stages for performance. Everyone's talking. Few are truly listening. Everyone's sharing, but so little of what's shared comes from a place of depth. It's all noise. And amidst that noise, the ones who carry real power are the quiet ones. The ones who understand that some truths are too sacred for public consumption. That wisdom isn't a trophy to show off. It's a fire that needs to be protected. You see, restraint doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean passivity. It means you've trained yourself to resist the impulsive urge to react, to speak, to correct, to dominate. It means you can sit in silence when provoked. It means you can allow someone else to be wrong without needing to correct them just to feed your ego. That's not cowardice. That's clarity. Because the moment you feel the need to prove yourself, you've already placed your value in someone else's hands. And that's not power. It's insecurity wearing the mask of confidence. There's a discipline in holding your truth within, in not needing the world to validate it. Some things are meant to be lived, not spoken. When you realize something deeply transformational about yourself, about life, about how the world works, your first instinct might be to run out and tell everyone. But wisdom isn't a performance, it's a practice. It must first be digested, integrated, and made real through your behavior. Think about martial artists. The most dangerous fighters are not the ones boasting about their skills. They're the ones who look calm, relaxed, even unassuming. Why? Because they don't need to flex what they know. They've internalized it. Their restraint is not forced. It's natural. It's the result of discipline, of repetition, of humbling failures and hard-won victories. They've come to understand that power is not what you show, it's what you withhold. And the same principle applies to inner wisdom. The more you know yourself, less you need the world to know you. The deeper your insight, the less you feel the need to argue. You stop needing to win conversations. You stop chasing applause. You let others underestimate you, misjudge you, even mock you because you've learned that your truth doesn't require their approval. That's real power. Silent, anchored, unshakable. But restraint doesn't just protect your power, it sharpens it. Every time you hold back when it would be easier to speak, every time you choose presence over performance, you train your inner warrior. You become more aligned, more precise, more effective. Instead of spreading your energy outward to convince others, you channel it inward to refine yourself. And with each act of restraint, your awareness deepens. You begin to see clearly who deserves your energy and who doesn't, ready and who is not, what is real and what is illusion. This clarity becomes your compass. It guides your actions, not your emotions, because you're no longer reacting, you're responding. Thoughtfully, intentionally. That's where transformation happens. When your life stops being a reaction to the world and becomes a deliberate expression of your truth. In ancient philosophy, restraint was always a sign of inner maturity. It meant you had come to a place where your peace was no longer negotiable, where you didn't allow circumstances or other people to disturb your center. And the most powerful thing about that state is this: others feel it. They may not understand it. They may even feel threatened by it, but they feel it. And slowly they begin to treat you differently, not because you demanded respect, but because your restraint made them curious, made them wonder what you know that they don't. And when they finally ask, you'll know they're ready. You won't need to convince them. You'll simply speak and your words will land. Because you waited, because you respected the truth enough to protect it. And because you didn't waste your power trying to display it before it was time. That is what it means to walk with quiet power. That is what it means to know the secret and keep your mouth shut. There comes a time on every journey of growth when the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing. Not because you have nothing to say, because you've come to understand that silence itself is a language, and when used wisely, it speaks louder than any argument, any explanation, any defense. Silence is not the absence of power, it is the presence of mastery. In the early stages of awakening, we often feel compelled to explain ourselves. We want to share everything we've learned, everything we've felt, everything we've realized. Like an overflowing cup, we can't help but pour it into others. But with time, we begin to see that not everyone is listening with the same depth. Not everyone is ready to receive what we've struggled so long to understand. And more importantly, not every space deserves our voice. That is when silence becomes a choice. One made not from fear or submission, but from clarity and discernment. In silence, you discover your own motives. Are you speaking because you need validation? Because you want to be right? Because your ego demands to be seen? Or are you willing to stay quiet to protect your energy, to let others be wrong without disturbing your peace? Silence invites you to examine yourself more honestly than speech ever can. Because when you remove the noise of explanation and justification, all that's left is truth. Raw, unfiltered truth. And facing it without the distraction of words is where real growth happens. There's an ancient discipline in stillness. The world rushes, shouts, reacts, posts, performs. But you don't. You watch. You feel. You understand. You learn to read between the lines. You listen not just to what is being said, but to what is not being said. You begin to see patterns, masks, and intentions that most miss. In silence. Your perception sharpens. You become more sensitive to energy, to subtle changes in tone, to the spaces people leave between their words. This is not intuition by accident. It's awareness by design. And it is built in silence. Think of the greatest martial artists. Their strength is not just in their physical form, but in their ability to observe their opponent, to wait for the precise moment to act. They are calm, grounded, silent. And when they strike, not out of haste, it's out of readiness. The same principle applies to life. When you've mastered the art of silence, you no longer speak to fill space. You speak because you have something to offer. And when you choose to remain silent, it is a conscious act of power, not weakness. In relationships, silence can be more healing than confrontation. Sometimes people don't need your advice. They need your presence. Sometimes they don't need your voice. They need to hear their own. When you stop interrupting their process with your words, you give them space to process, to reflect, to grow. That kind of silence is an act of love, not abandonment. Shows that you trust them to find their own way, just as you did. And when it comes to pain, your own pain, silence can be a sanctuary. You don't need to broadcast your struggle to validate it. You don't need to narrate your healing for it to be real. Sometimes the deepest healing happens in the quiet, when you sit with yourself in stillness without distractions or opinions and allow yourself to simply be, to feel, to accept. That is where transformation happens. In silence, the broken pieces begin to together. Not because you forced them to, but because you gave them room to realign. Silence also protects your vision. The more you speak about your dreams, your plans, your goals, the more you expose them to doubt, envy, and interference. There is power in moving quietly, in building without announcing, in evolving without explaining. Let your success make the noise. Let your peace be the proof. When you keep your intentions sacred, they grow stronger, they become rooted, they are no longer fed by applause, but by purpose. And finally, silence teaches you patience. The world will try to provoke you. People will test you. Life will throw challenges that seem to demand a reaction. But in silence, you learn to wait, to observe, to respond from strength, not emotion. That doesn't mean you never speak. It means you speak with intention, clarity, with impact. Your words, when they come, carry weight because they've been tempered by silence. This is the secret that so many overlook. They think power is loud, that wisdom must be explained, that truth must be shouted to be real. But the ones who truly understand know better. They know that silence is not emptiness. It is full. It holds your strength, your depth, your insight. It is your boundary, your meditation, statement, your guard. So, once you know something deeply, truly know it, not just intellectually, but spiritually, emotionally, and practically, resist the urge to shout it from the rooftops. Instead, let it live in you. Let it guide your actions. Let it reshape your habits. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more people who have the courage to be silent until their moment comes. And when it does, they will speak, not to impress, to illuminate. Until then, let silence be your teacher. The path to wisdom is not paved with words. It is carved in silence, forged through restraint, and walked in solitude. Once you have come to understand this, once you have witnessed the transformative depth that silence carries, you no longer feel the need to convince the world of who you are. You no longer chase the validation that once seemed so important. You no longer fight battles that your soul has already outgrown. You simply become. And that becoming, it happens in quiet moments when no one is watching. In the early mornings when the world is still and you are alone with your breath. In the late hours of the night when you replay the decisions of your day, not to punish yourself, but to refine your direction. It happens in your stillness, in your patience, in the way you choose to respond instead of react. It happens in the words you decide not to say, the victories you don't need to flaunt, the pain you don't need to explain. Something deeply powerful about the person who no longer feels the need to be loud. That kind of power is undeniable. It is rooted. It doesn't fluctuate with praise or criticism. It's not dependent on being seen or understood. Simply exists, like a mountain unmoved by the storm, like a candle whose flame does not flicker in the wind. The one who holds a secret and chooses silence is not withholding from others. They are protecting the sanctity of what they've earned. Because that's what truth is. It's earned through lived experience, through pain, through failure, through hard choices, and through quiet perseverance. And the deeper the truth, the less you want to share it casually. Not because you're hiding it, but because you respect it. You understand the weight of it. You understand that wisdom isn't just for display, it's for transformation. And before it can transform others, it must first transform you. So you carry it within you. You let it soften your anger. You let it sharpen your focus. You let it quiet your ego. And you let it guide you like a compass that never fails, even in the darkest terrain. You no longer look outward for answers, because you've learned to listen to the silence within. And in that silence, clarity, there is also peace. The kind of peace that doesn't come from everything going right, but from you no longer needing to control what goes wrong. The kind of peace that holds steady even when others misunderstand you, doubt you, or challenge you. You don't fight to prove anything because your energy is sacred now. Your time is sacred. Your inner state is not up for negotiation. You don't give that away lightly. That is when life begins to shift. Not because the world changes, but because you have. And your change, though subtle, becomes undeniable. You walk differently. You speak differently. You make decisions from a place of intention, not desperation. You give your energy wisely, and you protect your silence fiercely. You don't let noise into your heart. You don't let confusion lead your path. You have become still, and in that stillness, you are strong. People will feel this before they understand it. They may not know why they're drawn to your presence, why your words land with weight, why your calmness feels like safety. Because you have done what most won't. You've gone within. You've sat in the silence long enough to understand that not everything must be said. Not every truth needs a witness. Some things are meant only for you. So when the world tries to pull you back into its chaos, when it tempts you with applause, with arguments, with the promise of recognition, remember this: you are not here to be loud. You are here to be clear, to be anchored, to be real. And sometimes the realest thing you can do is say nothing at all. Let your life be the proof of what you know. Let your actions echo the lessons you've learned. Let your silence teach louder than your voice ever could. That is how you command respect without asking for it. That is how you influence without forcing. That is how you protect your power and keep growing without interruption. Because once you've found the secret, once you've tasted the kind of clarity that can't be bought, broken, or borrowed, you'll understand why you must guard it. Not from others, but for yourself. So that it can keep guiding you, so that it can keep refining you, so that it can continue to do its quiet, profound work inside of you. In a world obsessed with speaking, choose the discipline of listening. In a world addicted to noise, choose the courage of stillness. And in a world desperate to be seen, choose the quiet path of becoming so powerful, they'll feel you even when you say nothing. That's when you'll know the secret was never meant to be shouted. It was meant to be lived. Silently. Completely.